Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and today we are talking about several new projects that Nintendo has in the works that are pretty darn exciting. Now, what are those exactly? Well, that's what we're talking about today. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and enjoy the ride as we talk about Nintendo every day. Now, in the interest of talking about Nintendo every day, today's video is going to be a bit more brief. I got a lot of things going on. It's been a hectic last few weeks, but still, there have been some happenings this week that I would like to talk about that are very exciting. So, earlier this week, we did discuss this studio that's been named Studio 2 and Studio S. It's a Bandai Namco studio, and they've been responsible for a lot of Nintendo projects like Smash Ultimate, Mario Kart Deluxe, Mario Kart Tour, and to be specific, Smash Ultimate, they were actually working on some of these other projects they simply co-developed alongside Nintendo and other teams. But where it's kind of confusing is that a lot of this was sort of reported as a new studio. And, well, they are responsible for working on these prior projects, so it's not a new studio. However, they are now branding this, they've named it, they are hiring other people, so they're trying to build up more talent here. And what's interesting about this, when you take a look at the job hirings, we see 3D action game for both a game designer and a background artist. So they're trying to make a 3D action game. And when you think about their primary works, it's Smash Brothers. That's not a 3D action game. So there's something else that's going on here. Now, Bandai Namco has worked on a number of projects with Nintendo. Pokken Tournament, Pokemon Snap. As I said earlier, they've done a little bit of support development and assistance with other products Nintendo's been working on, like Mario Kart, ARMS. This studio supports major Nintendo projects, but none of them really fit this description of a 3D action game. Now, what's interesting is that a while back, we heard about these job listings from Bandai Namco before the studio was named Studio S and 2 or what have you. I think it's 2 and S. Yeah, Studio 2 and S, but whatever. Point is, we already knew that Bandai Namco was working with Nintendo. That's been well documented. However, these listings here were for a 3D action game, the same as it is now, but you'll see this listing is unavailable because this listing right here was actually for a HD remaster, and we were thinking this 3D action game was for a remaster of some sort. And there's a lot of speculation that it might be a Kid Icarus Uprising remaster or maybe something Star Fox related, because that would fit a Nintendo project that they would pay Bandai Namco to do. There would be a remaster remake of a 3D action game. So those made sense. But since Sakurai has suggested that while he really wants this, there's nothing in the works yet. Now, maybe that's a bait and switch. Maybe that's him teasing something. But he's talked about it multiple times, and I feel like he's being pretty earnest, so it's hard to say for sure if this Kid Icarus Uprising remaster is already in the works. I think it eventually will happen because he's expressing a strong interest in it. But this 3D action game may not be it, and with this listing here now showing that it's currently unavailable, I don't know if this new Bandai Namco 3D action listing, or the same one, not sure on that, is the same game. I'm not sure. I mean, they're trying to hire, look, like literally, I'm clicking 2 different tabs, but you didn't notice the difference because the page is exactly the same. There's no difference between them. It may be the same game. It may be a 3D action game that is also a remaster remake, but right now, there's nothing showing that's a remaster or remake, so it's hard to say. It may be a brand new title. Now, my opinion, I still think there's a great chance it's a remaster remake because Bandai Namco making a 3D action game for Nintendo, it's definitely possible. Like, maybe Nintendo's contracting Bandai Namco to make a brand new Kid Icarus or make a brand new Star Fox game. Actually, what if they started development on a 3D action Kid Icarus remaster, but because this listing here for the remaster is gone, what if that changed into a brand new Kid Icarus game? And considering that Bandai Namco works so closely with Sakurai on the Smash Bros. Titles, what if they're working together on a new Kid Icarus game? We don't know what it is, but something's coming, and even if it's a remaster, I'm pretty darn excited about it. But we got more things to talk about today. So, some of you may have heard about this new trademark. This new trademark here is for Xenoblade. Now, I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. Many people seem to be of the opinion that it is simply a trademark renewal. There's been some discussion about Xenoblade continuation, and there may be something lost in translation here, so I don't want to say for sure what exactly is going on because I don't know. But one thing I can say confidently is that we see trademark renewals and things of this nature all the time. They don't necessarily mean a game is coming around the corner. All it really means is that Nintendo is protecting their right to use the trademark. We've seen trademarks for Wave Race, we've seen trademarks for F-Zero. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a new Wave Race game or a new F-Zero game, or we've seen trademarks for Ocarina of Time, for example, but there's been a few different ones for that. Point is, it doesn't guarantee something's coming around the corner, but it's at least safe to say that Nintendo's not giving up on the franchise. But I don't think we ever doubted that, because the Xenoblade series is a fairly popular series nowadays. It's comparable to the Fire Emblem series, maybe a little bit below, but it's comparable is the point I'm making here. And there are far less popular series that Nintendo does, and Monolith Soft, that's their baby. They're going to continue working on Xenoblade. And on that note, we go back to this interview with Monolith Soft's founder, Tetsuya Takahashi. This is what he said. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is also a stopping point to me. This title depicts the conclusion of the Xenoblade story that began with Klaus's experiment. While it is a conclusion, that does not mean it is the end of the Xenoblade series. It is just a stopping point in my mind. I think everyone who played this title and the additional stories in the expansion pass can imagine what lies in the future for Xenoblade. So I think the point to be made here is that Xenoblade is not done. Here Takahashi saying it's not done. Just be patient. It will come sometime later down the road. And a few weeks ago we did talk about how they still have the listings for the new IP that they've been working on. Maybe that's a Switch 2 title. Maybe the next Xenoblade's a Switch 2 title. I believe that the next big Microsoft title is probably on Switch 2, unless we get some sort of Xenoblade export. And on the Switch 2, with everything we've heard, with the 4K capabilities, with the ray tracing, with the power that far exceeds a PlayStation 4, like, we could see something that's substantially better and bigger and more technically impressive with a lot more going on than anything we've seen prior with the Xenoblade series, which has already been fairly impressive for Nintendo standards. So the future of Xenoblade is exciting to think about. But going back to this whole Studio 2/Studio S, that's a Bandai Namco studio, that they've been working on Nintendo for a while, but now that they're kind of promoting it more and hiring more, it seems like they might be trying to have a little bit more of a focused effort here, and it's clear that they plan on working with Nintendo moving forward. The fact that we're seeing that this is a dedicated studio to just Nintendo development, that does say something. And what's interesting about this is that there is this other series that a lot of Xenoblade fans are a big fan of, and that is the Zenos Saga series, which is owned by Bandai Namco, and once upon a time, yes, it was made by Monolith Soft before they were owned by Nintendo. Now, Nintendo doesn't own Zenos Saga, but with this really strong relationship between Nintendo and Bandai Namco, the fact that Bandai Namco has its own dedicated studio, I think there's reason to believe that a Zenos Saga series of remasters, or a collection, or something to that effect, could come at some point down the road. Maybe for Nintendo Switch. These are old games, so I don't think they would have to be remade, although that would be exciting to see. But even just some nice quality remasters, just to get them on the system, upscale them into HD, some quality of life improvements, that would be amazing. I personally, even though I'm a big Xenoblade fan, have not had the chance to play the Zenos Saga series, but I would love to. I would love to play it on my Switch. I think this is something we could see before Switch 2 even, or at some point on Switch 2, but still coming to Switch, given that these are older games and they could just be scaled up, and I think Switch will be supported for years to come, regardless of when Switch 2 comes out. So seeing this strong relationship between Bandai Namco and Nintendo, stronger than ever before, given that we know that they now have a dedicated studio, I have a lot of optimism for this. So considering everything we've discussed today, with this 3D action game that they are working on that's been commissioned by Nintendo, With this relationship that we're seeing that's stronger than ever between Bandai Namco and Nintendo, I think it bodes well for some sort of Zenos Saga content on a Nintendo platform not so distant future. With this recent trademark of the Xenoblade series, while it may not mean that much in and of itself, it is at least a little bit of a sign or a reminder that Xenoblade is still on the way, especially when we account for what Takahashi said about the end of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's coming, we just gotta be patient. And also with what Monosoft has been hiring for, we got a lot of cool potential projects here, and that's very exciting. So, we just gotta be patient, but they're on the way. At least some of them. And I'm sure there will be other surprises as well. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andre's Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.